One question I get a lot is about the fear of being seen online. People tell me all the time, right before they press record, they freeze. Or maybe they're ready to publish, but suddenly they lose the motivation. They stop, they just throw their phone away. Maybe you've been there. Okay, but here's the truth. Being a content creator doesn't mean you have to let every single person into every single part of your life. Like, it's not about that. What if I told you that the things that we hide are actually what get people on our side? Like, there are the things that connect us the most with others. And it's all about being memorable. Now, being memorable doesn't mean oversharing. It means letting your essence, your roots shine through. Think of it like a small flower. A small flower is beautiful, right? But its beauty is fleeting. It's not that memorable. You can see 1,000 in a day. How do you remember which one is the one that, really made you stop and think? Also, you can rip a flower out, you can repot it, you can bring it with you, you could put it in your hair, and its roots are shallow. Like, it's not hard to utilize it. It's not hard to just turn it into whatever you need it to be. But an oak tree provides shade, care, right? It's solid, dependable. It grows flowers on its leaves. But those deep roots that make us truly appreciate it, that's why it's so magnificent, because it's been growing for so long. Now, do you see the roots? No, you see some of them, but it's the roots that are underground that make the tree what it is. And that's what you want as a content creator, right? You want those roots because that's where the connection comes from. Now, I want to tell you a story of two books. The first book I was going to try and have here with me, but I can't find it, probably because my kids are off. They read it last night or something like that. But the first book is called Giraffes Can't Dance. And Giraffes Can't Dance is a cute story, and it's got a really simple lesson. It's about this giraffe that can't dance, and everybody makes fun of him until he, finds his own music to dance to and does his own dance, right? He finds his own voice. And sometimes you just need kind of your own music is kind of the idea. Just kind of march to your own beat. And it's good, and it encourages kids to not be afraid of what others think of them, and it's a good book. But it's nobody's favorite book. Now, there's another book that all of us have read. This book is the same size as Giraffes Can't Dance. It is the same length, has the same amount of pages, but it has such an incredible backstory that was built into the book that nobody knows, but it's actually the exact reason why it has affected so many of our lives. It makes parents cry, it makes children laugh, and most, if not all of us, have read this over the last 30 years. And it's about a story. It comes from an author, and this author, he was a poet and he was a children's book author, but this author had two stillborn daughters, and he was grieving a lot. He wanted to be strong for his wife, and in order to cope with this loss, he wrote a poem. Now, he never read this poem to his wife, and whenever he needed to be strong, he would say this poem to himself, and it was a message for his daughters. And so, oftentimes this author would perform his work and his books before ever writing them down. And so he was having a performance one night, and somebody said, do you have any stories to tell? And he said, no, but I've really only got this poem. And they're like, well, can you make a story out of it? And typically he rehearses these stories, dozens of times on stage, but this time a story just came to him. And it was all about this poem. And what the story was an ideal life that he could have had if his daughters were alive. Those are the roots of this book. Can you guess what that book is? I'm going to pick it up right now. You ready? I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The book is I Love You Forever by Robert Munsch. And this is just one example of how this book, he did not spill his guts. He did not tell you about the mess in his life. He did not tell you about his two daughters. He did not tell you about how after his second daughter, they were told they will never have kids again. But this book was written from a place of such depth. It allowed for so much connection and has now created so many memories and shade, from these hard times in so many homes. Now, I know not everyone feels comfortable with vulnerability. Some people are private, and that's perfectly fine. Like, there's a real fear of what can happen if you put yourself out there, right? Whether it's too much attention or the risks that come along with being in the public eye, or even just the fear of people, seeing your imperfections. I get it. I felt that too. Back when I was a content creator in the space industry, my entire focus was on education, right? I talked about stars, black holes, history, but never about me. And I posted daily. I was consistent and people appreciated that. And then my daughter was born, right? Life got really hard, actually. I had just been promoted to a management position for the first time ever 2 days before we went into labor. Then we went into labor, and after 49 hours, we welcomed her into the world. 2 days after that, I had a significant Crohn's flare up. Both my wife and I were bedridden. We were trying to care for a newborn, and then postpartum depression hit us hard. I stopped posting, right? I took time off. And when I thought I was coming back, I was nervous, right? What would people think? Would they even care? Would they see me as just some space guy who disappeared, or I didn't know. And in hindsight, it feels silly to even think about it, but I was afraid. So eventually I posted something along the lines of, I'm going through some things. I'm really sorry I haven't posted, as if I owed them something. And I didn't share every detail, but what happened was incredible. I was met with overwhelming support. Those people who I once saw as just followers, they showed me that they cared. And I didn't even share any details. I just said I'm going through something. And that's when I realized that being vulnerable, even in small ways, builds the deepest connections. And that's why I believe it's not about oversharing. It's about letting your roots show in your content. Like, you don't have to give every detail, but when you create from a place of depth, people feel it. Like, it strengthens the bond you have with your audience, just like an oak tree or even the stars in the galaxy. They guide us, right? They give us life. They provide balance. They've been part of our, evolution as a species. Both stars and flowers give life, but the stars in the sky have played such a fundamental role of how we live and navigate the world. That's the kind of lasting impact we can create when we tap into our deeper selves, right? At the end of the day, it's about being authentic in your own way. Maybe that means sharing a personal story like Robert Munch did with Love You Forever. Or maybe it's simply showing up for your audience when they need you most. But don't be afraid to let your roots show, because those are what make you memorable. And this comes back to the root definition of the word content. Content is like the contents of a container, the substance. We define it further, it's just your essence, right? Your essence is what's inside of you. It doesn't make sense to make content if you're just allowing people to scratch the surface. So thank you for being here. If you found this helpful, or if it resonates with you, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more content just like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.